Hello again.
Hello, hello.
You're back to Estonia.
I am.
You've been here now. This is your second time.
My second time in only in a few weeks, so
Yeah.
it's fantastic. I'm very delighted to be back. Yeah.
It's uh, it's an event called 60 Seconds of Solitude in year zero.
Yes.
I've kind of grasped the idea of it, but what do you think the year zero is? What that signify to you?
Well, year zero makes me think about the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot. It makes me think about the razing to the ground of culture, the destruction of something of the human spirit, or the attempt to destroy the human spirit in a way. And the solitude, I mean, to me, it seems a very Eastern European kind of title. As the burning does, also the burning seems very, northern and dramatic way of cleansing, of passing into another life. So I'm not so sure we're looking at the death of something. I think maybe the rebirth, in another way. I'd be very sad to see it be year zero for, the end of the celluloid and the beginning of digital. I don't think it can be that.
Maybe it's the end of commercialism.
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? I think we're looking at a very interesting point, though, in time, because for 15 years, up until 2008, or the end of 2007, we were looking at a very engorged world, a very drunk on its own affluence. Certainly we're in Britain. Years of greed, I call them. There were the years of greed. And the children that are born out of that time, including my own son, they were born in these years. They know nothing else. They only know that culture can be bought at a shop. Desire and happiness can be consumed. They're interested in fame, these children. They don't really care how they get it or why. But after the crash, after 2008, the banks, suddenly all those certainties were gone. At first no one could believe it. But now, as the cold teeth of the recession bite into us, maybe we're looking at a flowering of culture. Maybe not now, but soon. And I think as disillusionment is a great compost from which culture can grow. Disillusionment and oppression, And I think we're going to look at a kind of financial oppression over the next coming years, because currently there's no way out. We no longer make things. We no longer create. In Britain, we've lost almost all of our industries. I think it's the same in most places in the Western world. Also here, I think, we're very reliant on service industries, on tourism. Much of the moving image product, the adverts and the corporate films that support that economy. We've trained people for years to make this vacuous nonsense which only circles round money. And if the money is gone, then there's no reason for us to run in these circles anymore, even to keep our heads above water. There's no way, there's no life belt like this. It's an ugly life belt, but we clung on to it. It helped us as artists. So for it to be gone, I think it forces us to be more brave. We have to be more brave. There's nothing else to do, really.
You see cinema as the tool to communicate to the world that they need to make some kind of a change.
I don't know. I think to be too didactic in the cinema also crushes its spirit. We don't want to make propaganda in that way. It should not be something that could be so easily read, so easily taken apart. It has to speak to the heart. It has to get under the skin. It has to show what can't be seen. It has to show, because we've been stuck so much on the surface for 15 years, on this glossy, beautiful surface, that the heart has shriveled underneath it. And I think the important job of cinema is that it helps us to learn to transcend that place again. Because cinema itself, it's a clockwork medium, you know. There's nothing elevated about the actual medium. Seconds, time, this obsession with time, this is something that comes from the 19th century, from the Industrial Revolution. This in itself is a destruction of the soul. But somehow the miracle of cinema is that it transcends this clockwork ticking. 25 ticks a second, 24 ticks a second when it comes to celluloid. Tick, 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 tick. And somehow it moves just fast enough that we can't see the artifice, that we're left to feel it. But it's an illusion to think that cinema is not also built on the same industrial artifice as digital is. Digital is just that artifice, but in a new age. The important thing is what we communicate and how we communicate it, how we transcend the rigidity of the form. And that's the beauty of it for me. And in a way, the destruction of it, the burning of it tonight, could be seen. For me, it's a symbol of the destruction of that industrial process. We're not burning ideas. We can't burn the ideas. In fact, the burning of them is, in a way, the making of the ideas, the liberation of them, the freeing of them from that form. And I think we have to remember that we're here to create things which rise above the industry that we're forced to work within, the medium that we're forced to work within. And I'm very interested, very excited to see out of that hour this evening what stays with us, what lives in our hearts afterwards. Because a minute is a small heartbeat, and 60 of them all pulling in different directions. What will happen to us? What will we feel? Will it help raise us up? Or will we feel as fragmented in a kind of postmodern way as we do from the million adverts that also play for 30 seconds or a minute, you know? Will it be more than that? I hope so.
I want to ask for your part in this project. I understand you also have your contribution. What is it that you have brought into it?
Well, I brought into it a piece which I called Early Cinema. And it's about looking inside the mind of a sleeping baby, a baby who is dreaming. I noticed that when my son was born, even after a few days, he looked like he was having very lucid dreams. Emotions were playing inside his head, perhaps scenes, perhaps not even scenes, perhaps just fragments of images. Babies, as we know, they don't see in focus. They don't necessarily see color. They see shape and form. But out of that, the more they see, the more they learn to give it shape and form. And to me, of course, that's the birth of cinema. If cinema is a place of dreams, as we all feel that it is, a place where in the dark we can have these images projected back to us that connect up with our subconscious, I thought it would be interesting to have a wonder, a visual wonder at what the smallest creatures, human creatures, see inside their heads, or what I imagine they might see inside their heads. So for me, it's a series of images that I believe a baby might dream, and also images of a baby in REM sleep, eating. Well, I think he's suckling from the breast like this, and he's also smiling and twisting his face. Some people say that maybe it's just wind, maybe it's just flatulence of the child in his sleep. And so suitably, fittingly, it's in the wind section of the tonight. But it's more, when I think of wind, I think more of air. It's ephemeral, although essential for life. It's also ephemeral.
That's a very, very good idea to show a small infant or a child who is not even born. To me and to Estonia, that is very suiting, as we have a very low birth rate in Estonia, and more people pass away than are born, and it is not a good thing. And somehow maybe cinema can help even Estonia, you never know.
Well, cinema can be, I'm sure everyone has experienced what kind of an aphrodisiac going to the cinema can be, to be in the dark. Everyone, I'm sure, has had teenage kisses, snogs, as we say in Britain, winches, as we say in Scotland. Things that lead to love, that lead to maybe making babies.
There was a song when Estonia became free during the singing revolution that it is important to fill the earth with children. And it was such a wonderful kind of an Irish and country kind of tune song that really went on for people very well, and they loved it. It's a band called Justament who sings it, and people just started having more babies after this.
Fantastic.
So what can we do about this in
More
Estonia?
children, to make more children.
Yeah.
Oh, well, some people would argue in the West, that there are enough children already, but actually each country needs to find its own balance. It makes me feel sad to think that Estonia is shrinking in numbers effectively. So I don't know. Maybe the secret is this greater connection with Europe, maybe more blood, fresh blood from around the world. See, in Britain we're a very mongrel people. We have people from everywhere, and Angles, Saxons. When they hear Anglo-Saxon, already it's a hybrid. So maybe we need a Estonian, hybrid, and an encouragement. It makes strong people. It makes very strong and healthy people. So get out there and bring those people back and have lots of sex with them. I think that's probably the only answer.
Makes sense to me too.
Very good.
Okay. Is there anything else I should ask you that I forgot or was not wise enough to bother you as?
I asked the same question in an interview. It's a very important one, I think, at the end. No, in this case, I think I've talked plenty. The key thing with cinema is it's more about the watching than it is about the talking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you again. All right, lovely.